All right, so for the past few days, I have been in Nashville, Tennessee, covering the Stellars for a client, and I recently picked up the DJI Pocket Osmo 3, or Osmo Pocket 3. Because I was traveling, I really wanted to put this through its paces. I feel like this camera is made for content creators, people who are on the go, maybe want to vlog, and things of that nature. And so I said, what better way to test this out than with traveling? And with traveling as a video, photo, filmmaker, you don't really have a lot of space to spare. You want to travel as light as possible. You don't want to have as much with you if possible. Just want to click on my eye. And because of that, you really want to stay small. And I feel like the Pocket 3 is really small. I have this attachment on right now, but without the attachment, this camera is really small. It's literally the size of my hand or smaller. And so yeah, I really wanted to do a review. And so before we get into this video, I wanted to showcase some of the videos which you just saw. Everything was shot on the DJI Osmo Pocket 3. And my initial thoughts, I was not necessarily surprised. I feel like the camera quality of this is very similar to one of the DJI drones that I've had and I've used over the years. I feel like just better. And so when I think about it from that standpoint, I not necessarily surprised, but I think the D-Log has come a really long way since my Air 2S that I have for drone footage. Other than that, like this camera to be so small, shooting 4K, I think up to 120 frames a second, is crazy. I don't really shoot in slow mo, but like the fact that you can even have that capability, I feel like 5 years ago that wasn't even possible in most mirrorless cinema cameras. And so to be able to have that in such a small package is very impressive. While I was in Tennessee covering the Stellars for a client, I was thrown in so many different situations. There were so many different events that I was covering for photo and video. And so a lot of times we might have a situation where I'm shooting with my FX3 and it's about time to wrap up, but then something good happens, or I remember I need to pick up a moment, and I literally would just go with this Pocket 3 and get the same shots that I would normally get just with this. And I will say in most situations that's doable. Just splashing it into a recap or whatever the case may be is definitely possible. And even if you did this in optimal lighting situations, I think this would still be a good camera for just sneaking in shots with your higher quality videos from your FX3s or whatever you're using. From a filmmaking standpoint, I feel like this camera is great for run and gun things. I want to say it was specifically made for content creators. I know with this camera you can get the DJI mics and it seamlessly connects wirelessly. So you get that higher quality audio from their mics going directly to your footage, which is great. But I would say this is a great run and gun camera. I'd say if you shoot documentaries and you just need a camera just to be able to get stuff without having to put your book bag down, get your camera out, maybe attach a lens or change a lens because you got a 50 millimeter on, I feel that you can pull this out in most situations, capture what you need, and be fine. Because most times you're shooting in D-Log anyway, so you can color grade the footage pretty well. Like I was trying to push a lot of this footage until it started to crack, and the ability to color grade as much as I did, I was very impressed with that. That's not even something I could get with my DJI drone, mainly because I feel like my drone didn't necessarily have D-Log. It did, but it was like maybe early stages of it. And so to be able to color grade the footage without it breaking and getting muddy or whatever the case may be, It's very impressive. There were moments on this trip where there was low light situations where I feel like this footage might not be too usable. As you can see, like it's just muddy. And I was shooting an auto for a lot of these things. So the camera was auto exposing for whatever, was the main part of the frame. And so, and the reason I was doing this is because a lot of times when I was pulling this camera out, it was very run and gun. And I feel like with the screen being as small as it is, it's very hard to change settings on the fly, to me. And so I just left everything auto exposure, shooting in D-Log. I know for the filmmakers, they're gonna be like, why would you do that? But that's just what made sense for me in these situations. And it worked actually pretty well. In this shot, you can see coming down from the skylight down through the hotel, you can see the auto exposure kind of adjusting as needed. But I still think this footage is very usable in most situations. And so I'll probably continue to use it with auto exposure as I trust it pretty much. I have ND filters to compensate for those brighter days. I also have a polarizer for moments where I might be shooting with my car and I need to see through the windshield or through wherever to cut down those reflections. None of this footage really has that, maybe the polarizer, but the NDs, I think that is one downside of this camera. Although, or at least with this polarizer, I can't snap on an ND with a polarizer or polarizer with an ND. It's only really made for one filter at a time, which really kind of sucks. Because I think the ND and the polarizer would do very well. Granted, the smaller sensor, I don't know if that would start making those like weird filter things that you get. But I would say overall, just having the one filter most times, and I pretty much just kept the polarizer on the whole time just to see what the footage would come out like, especially in these different situations, just cutting reflections down, dealing with darker skin, cutting those reflections down, etc., etc., etc. Overall, the footage from this camera is very, very good. I will say I will keep using this camera. Good, pretty much build quality. I definitely have already scraped it, scratched it a couple of times, but overall I feel like it's still feeling pretty brand new after a week. And I've had it on tripods. I've had it mounted to my car with the Movi Max. I plan to mount it to my bike at some point. But overall, a pretty solid camera. Another feature on this camera that I really like is the ability to shoot vertical. By literally just flipping the screen. The default is to have the screen like this, but if you flip it this way and hit continue, it will start recording vertical. And so for you content creators out there or people who do a lot of social content, I feel like this is a great camera for that. Mainly because you can shoot vertical, you can shoot horizontal, and you can see the framing immediately. They also have the phone app, so you can monitor from your phone without having to be by the camera. You can start recording from your phone, etc., etc. So really good for content creators, for you people who vlog. This is a great vlog camera. I would say the audio from this camera is somewhat usable. It's very scrappy, but if it's just for 10 seconds or whatnot, I feel like the audio is pretty usable as long as there is no ambient sounds around, sirens and things of that nature. If you're in a controlled environment, I think the audio from this is very usable. Overall, I would give this camera a solid 8.5 out of 10. One thing that I do wish you could do, which I know you can, so I Googled it, for locking the head on the gimbal. You can lock it from moving, but it's still like, the gimbal is still on. It's not moving with my hand, it's staying in place, which is cool. I think it's great, but you have to continue to hold it. And when you let go, that's no longer happening. I wish there was a way in the settings where you could just maybe go into the settings and just lock the gimbal altogether to get a more raw feel, because I feel like that would make it more interesting, especially when you want to get more creative with your shots. So everything doesn't necessarily have to have a gimbal movement feel to it. If there's a way to do that, let me know down in the comments, because I would love to know. Yeah, I would love to know down in the comments, so let me know. But other than that, I feel like this camera is a pretty great camera for what it is. There was a price increase recently. I think it went up like 150 to 200 bucks. I think right now it's like $800 just for the body alone. But I think overall that's pretty good for the quality of footage that you get, the audio that you get. Yeah, you can't beat this. 5 years ago, this camera would have destroyed the market as far as just quality. The roll off that you get in the footage is actually pretty crazy. I would say when you put any camera in good situations, whether that's sunrise, blue hour, or in a controlled environment such as the one right here, you really get to see how good cameras are. And so if you are planning on getting this camera, just think about the situations you would want to put it in order for it to succeed. Because I'm just going to take some video now with this camera just to show you the similarities of what you're getting in a controlled environment where you can actually see, or when you actually have good lighting and everything catered to what the camera needs. 1 second, I gotta put a SD card in. So just for reference, I'm gonna record myself with the DJI Pocket 3 just so you can see the quality of this camera. I also have this polarizer on, so let's see. So this is the footage from the DJI Osmo Pocket 3. Kind of the same frame as you're seeing from my FX3, but I just wanted to show you how good the quality is in a controlled situation with actual lighting. With this camera, it has a gimbal on right now, and it's pretty wide. I think this is, I want to say it's a 24 millimeter, maybe a little bit closer, maybe like a 20, but you can see, and of course I have this polarizer on, but overall, like, the quality from this camera is nuts. It's insane. And I would low-key put this up against I would put this up against some of the better video cameras and guarantee that you can match and color grade pretty well. Of course, the lenses are different and the characteristics of the lenses are different, but for like run and gun, you just need to pick up a single shot every now and then. I feel like this is pretty good, and you'll be able to see this in real time. And now I'm going to switch back to my FX3. But as you can see, the quality of this camera is so good. If you have any questions, let me know down in the comments. I would be happy to answer them. Yeah, I plan to do more videos similar to this. Hopefully do another video with this camera after about month 6 maybe, just to come back and see how I feel about it. But if you have any questions, leave them down in the comments. If you like this video, give it a like. If you haven't already, subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next video.